Hello everyone, it is my pleasure to be part of the Dubai International Academy Model United Nations Digital Conference. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the young organizers of this event for hosting this incredible platform to exchange ideas, knowledge and learnings. On behalf of Dubai Cares, I would also like to thank InnoVentures, Education and DIAMUN team for inviting me to speak to all of you today and share my thoughts on your chosen theme of responding to crisis in pursuit of international stability. Last year, we were all hit by what we can best describe as one of the greatest challenges of our time. The COVID-19 pandemic has shaken up the whole world in ways we could never imagine or anticipate. And one of the biggest impacts of the pandemic was on students like yourselves. At its peak, the pandemic forced 190 countries to close down schools and universities, affecting more than 1.5 billion school-age children and youth, which represents around 90% of the world's student population. Nearly 60 million teachers were also no longer in the classroom. These numbers have an interesting story to tell, a story that you as students are very much a part of. COVID-19 may not have impacted every household in the world when it comes to health, but education in every single home definitely, without exception. Education was affected either directly or indirectly at different levels due to a variety of reasons. I am sure that each one of you listening to me today was affected by the pandemic in some shape or form, whether it was through receiving your lessons on a screen or not being able to see your friends for a long time due to school closures. But that's not all. The pandemic and the impact of the pandemic on education has been multifaceted. What I mean by this is that the pandemic has given rise to both challenges as well as opportunities for the global education community. As the world scrambled to explore solutions to mitigate the disruption caused to the education sector, many of the decade-long debates around learning suddenly resurfaced, and they are now demanding immediate answers from all of us. With the distance and online learning becoming part of our new reality so quickly, we began to question various notions around learning, such as, do we really need to send you to a physical school for your education? We also started to take a closer look at the interactions of education stakeholders, such as between you and your teachers, or between your schools and policymakers and education leaders. Through this all, we have learned that the old solutions will no longer work for newer challenges. In fact, that has been the fundamental reality of our education system since the beginning. For instance, when I was a student your age, I did not have access to digital devices or gadgets for learning. However, since a few years ago, even before COVID-19, most schools around the world have adopted these gadgets as an effective tool to complement and aid learning. And today, as you all know very well, digital technologies have come to the rescue to allow children like you to continue your education without any interruptions. As a matter of fact, the entire world now is turning to digital learning to ensure that students can continue to learn as normal. However, not all countries have been fortunate enough to be able to make this transition. Millions of learners in such countries have been left behind, and in fact, millions remain excluded and cannot exercise their basic right to education. They are denied access to the digital world as they lack basic access to connectivity. UNESCO estimates that at least 500 million children and youth have been cut off from education due to insufficient internet access since the beginning of 2020, and these figures may still rise higher. In fact, we have always known that millions around the world are denied access to the digital world due to this lack of access. However, the switch from offline to online learning has heightened this gap even more for underserved communities around the world. Connectivity, therefore, is the core issue, but if we are to address the challenges I just briefly described, we need to transform connectivity from being a barrier to an enabler. And that has been the overarching theme for Dubai Cares, and it was a Dubai Cares response to COVID-19 globally. And allow me to share a few examples with you, starting from the UAE itself. While our mandate is global, because of COVID-19, we rolled out our first nationwide fundraising campaign, Education Uninterrupted, here in the UAE, which is related to a global cause and also related to an internal cause. One being a fundraising campaign and the other being a global advocacy for change. The campaign, which is in line with our government's decision to extend distance learning until the end of the academic year, calls on the UAE community to extend a helping hand and make financial and in-kind donations to support children and youth from low-income families who cannot afford to purchase a computer or a laptop or a tablet and join their peers in distance learning from the safety of their home. Through this campaign, our target is to leave no student without the necessary tools to continue their learning. Second, we also joined UNESCO's Global Education Coalition for COVID-19 response, which is a multi-sector partnership that is working to ensure that learning is not disrupted due to the pandemic. Through this initiative, we are helping countries find solutions for distance learning and minimize disruptions to education caused by the pandemic. We're also working with UNESCO to drive forward the Global Declaration on Connectivity for Learning and Livelihood. That will be launched, of course, during Expo 2020 Dubai end of this year, and aims to mobilize support from public and private sectors for increased connectivity for learning and livelihoods globally. In addition, we joined hands with UNICEF's flagship global youth initiative called Generation Unlimited. As part of this partnership, Dubai Cares will be supporting a project under UNICEF called GIGA. This initiative is led by UNICEF and in partnership with the International Telecommunication Union, the ITU, to connect every single school in the world to the internet. And last but not least, we're also gearing up to host a groundbreaking global education summit at Expo 2020 Dubai, the one I mentioned earlier, called Rewired. And this summit aims to reshape the global conversation on education and push boundaries of current thinking to explore new approaches to global challenges. We believe this is extremely important because the ongoing pandemic has changed everything about education, and we think that now is the right time to redefine it more than ever. As young and bright minds currently pursuing your educational journeys, we would love to see you at this summit end of this year. And finally, we have signed an MOU with the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Global Initiative to support the digital school that was launched by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum around 2 to 3 months ago. And the digital school is an initiative which will be a groundbreaking digital learning solution, and it's a digital platform that aims to create effective learning opportunities to safeguard educational journeys of children in the most underserved communities around the world. These are just a few examples of how Dubai Cares and its partners are working to provide some stability in the education sector globally, especially in the aftermath of the pandemic. Damage caused by COVID-19 is unprecedented, and we cannot rectify it overnight. However, we can take small but important steps every day to inch closer towards making the world a better place, making the world brighter and more stable place for all children. Thank you.